Team IS Network. Today we do a topic on General Studies 3 Economy. As I told you, General Studies 3, the components of General Studies 3 Economy, Agriculture, Internal Security, Science, Technology, Environment, Disaster Management. So the analysis of the previous papers, say from 2016 to 2019, revealed that economy gets a uniform 60 to 65 marks out of 250. So the question for discussion, labor code, the working people are a national asset. Undermining their well-being should be considered the biggest anti-national act. So in this particular question, the examiner wants you to critically examine the provisions of the labor code and how it requires how the policymakers need to take into consideration certain issues if the labor code is to be implemented. So it is still in the conceptualization stage, it is not implemented as yet. First, we speak of a brief introduction. So I'll tell you how we'll structure this question, the background, then we come to the provisions of the Act, issues of concern. This is how we are going to analyze this question. In the introduction, we point out how informal workers constitute 90% of the total working population. So informal sector, it constitutes 90% of the total working population and contributes 60% of the gross domestic product. Now, the Supreme Court in Raptakos versus Union of India spoke of right of a living wage. So, right of a living wage, the worker who gets the wage, he should be able to meet his basic needs. And the Supreme Court, the judgment in the Raptakos case leads us to consider the right of a guaranteed minimum wage. So this is for the introduction. Like we speak of the strength of the informal sector, then we also speak of the judgment of the Supreme Court in Raptakos case where it speaks of the right of a living wage. We come to the provisions of the Act. The first provision of this labor code, concept of a floor wage. So what is this concept of a floor wage? The floor wage is fixed as rupees at 178 a day. So this concept of living wage of rupees 178 a day is confined to the basic amenities of food, clothing and shelter. Now there's a report of the Consumer Expenditure Survey which says that the average family expenditure in rural areas is 83 rupees per day and in the urban areas it is 134 rupees per day. Another important provision of the labor code, there is a provision for deduction of wages up to 50% based on performance or damage or loss. So you see the provisions of the labor code. First provision is concept of a floor wage, fixing the minimum. Then you see the result, the findings of the Consumer Expenditure Survey, which fixes a certain amount for the rural area and a certain amount for the urban area, that is rupees 83 per day in the rural areas and in urban areas 134 per day. Then an important provision of the labor code which is worth mentioning, how the employer can deduct wages up to 50% if the worker does not perform, if he causes damage or the company or the firm suffers a loss. There is also a provision for inspection. With this background of the provisions of the labor code, we go into the issues of concern. See, the first thing, when the Supreme Court in Rapto case spoke of right of a living wage, it means a need-based wage. What is the need-based minimum wage? Need-based minimum wage has to cover nutrition, health, education, housing, provisions for old age. Now you see the vulnerable groups. Now government programs for the vulnerable groups cater to the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBC, minorities, differently abled, and the senior citizens. Now the informal sector, that is the people who are most vulnerable, unless they are brought into the category of vulnerable groups, the basic requirements like for a minimum wage which should cover nutrition, health, education, housing, provisions for old age. Unless all these factors are tutored in to the concept of need-based minimum wage, the informal sector will continue to suffer neglect. The second important thing which the policymakers have to consider is need to incorporate the right to minimum wage, right to living wage, or just as we discussed, a right to a need-based minimum wage, covering the basic aspects of nutrition, health, education, housing, and old age. So unless these things are incorporated in the fundamental right, the implementation of the schemes for the unorganized sector will not materialize. The third thing, the labor market preys on the excess availability of workers. Now, because workers are available, the employers can afford to dictate wages, can afford to exploit them. And in many cases, we have seen workers coming for less than the minimum wage. So it leads to a state of forced labor. Then when we speak of arbitrary deduction of wages, performance damage or loss, see, when you are not even introducing a concept of a need-based minimum wage, straight away incorporating such a provision would mean it would amount to denying the fundamental rights of the workers. Then we speak of the system of inspections. As I told you, the structure for the labor inspection we took it from the International Labour Organization, the ILO Code of 1947, which is ratified by India. Now, what does the ILO Code provide for? It provides for a well-resourced, independent inspectorate. See the provisions of the ILO Code. Well-resourced, independent inspectorate with provisions for inspection and free access to the workplace. So the inspecting authority can check at random, can see how the workplaces are, and can recommend factors for improving the conditions at work. Now here what has happened is, in this particular scheme of inspection, which is mentioned in the labor code, the workers cannot even demand better working conditions, because what happens once the workers start demanding better conditions, better working conditions, as I told you earlier, there's a provision for deduction of 50% wages on performance damage or loss. So the employer can interpret the demand of the worker to show that he is not performing well, he is resorting to unionism, and this could be ruse to deduct 50% wages. So what is happening is, the international code, ILO Code of 1947, has been watered down in the provisions of the labor code. Then the workers, the informal sector, it is an underprivileged sector, and as I said earlier, they are not part of the vulnerable groups. whereas the vulnerable groups are taken care of by the government. As I told you, there are separate schemes for the SC, ST, OBC and the others. Here, the informal sector, it is still, the schemes are still to be worked out, and the constitutional right for fair wages is infringed by both the employers and the state. Now, the employers can exploit the workers on the ground of arbitrary deduction, refusing to open up places for inspection. And the state is also the biggest infringer on the rights of the employees. Like I told you, they have watered down the conditions, watered down the ILO code. So finally, what do we suggest? There is a need to adopt the best practices. So what can be done? You take the example of Delhi and Kerala, where the minimum wages has been for the informal sector has been restructured. In Delhi, they are paid 14,842 a month, whereas Kerala, the employees in the unorganized sector get 600 rupees a day. Something like this can be factored in throughout the country. So because if the best practices prevailing in Delhi and Kerala, if it is adopted in the other parts of the country, we will go in line with the Supreme Court order which speaks of a living wage, and further we can also implement the provision, or we can implement the scheme of a minimum or a need-based minimum wage. So once that is done, and if you supplement the provisions of the code with, say, by including them in the vulnerable groups and covering schemes relating to, say, nutrition, healthcare, education, housing, provision for old age. Suppose these factors also are tailored in to this particular sector, then we would be promoting their well-being and ultimately contributing to the overall development. If the labor code is implemented as it is, it would amount to, like, what shall I say, it would amount to, as the question says, it will be amounting to be the biggest anti-national act, because we are depriving a large chunk of employees of the basic rights by not providing them the basic minimum wage, as I told you, covering all the other aspects apart from the basic pay, the other factors like nutrition, healthcare, education, housing, and other provisions for old age. So adoption of the best practices, say of Delhi and Kerala, if it is extended to other parts of the country, I think we would come closer to the judgment of the Supreme Court, which spoke of a minimum living wage, and we would also come to the concept of a need-based minimum wage covering all the essential aspects for the unorganized sector. So this is in brief the discussion what we had on the provisions of the labor code, and as I said earlier, this is still in the stage of conceptualization. We'll have to see what happens regarding the implementation of that. So that is why we gave a brief introduction with saying we showed the magnitude of the workforce. We spoke about the observations of the Supreme Court. Then we mentioned the provisions of the labor code. Then we highlighted the issues of concern. So economy, as I said, it is common to both the prelims and the mains. So when you read for the prelims, you automatically read for the mains. So my suggestion is people preparing for the mains, find time to read the Economic Survey Volume 1 and 2. The summaries of that would suffice in getting you good marks, and quoting from the government books, from the government journals will definitely stand you in a better position than the others. Thank you.